On today's episode of the Josh Gerben Show, I'm going to talk about the 16 things I've learned from being in business and running my own law firm for the last 16 years.
Welcome to the Josh Gerben Show, because law school didn't teach business.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Josh Gerben Show. We are celebrating our 16th year anniversary here at Gerben IP. I started the firm in March of 2008. Feels like yesterday, but here we are 16 years later. When I started the firm, it was just me and the four walls. Now we have 14 employees. We're a small business, and there's a lot that I've learned about how to start and grow a law firm in the last 16 years. I wanted to share with you my tips today. So getting right into it, my number one tip: your company is your people. The one thing I have learned is that you cannot do it all yourself. You have to hire extremely talented people, and you need them to stay for a while, right? And you can't have high turnover. So it is really important to prioritize hiring people, training them well, and treating them well so that they'll stay a long time. This is a lot easier said than done, but if you do it, this is the secret sauce to any business being successful over the long term. My second tip is that you have to spend money to make money. This means that you must spend money on advertising. You need to spend money hiring people. You can't just worry about, I'm only going to make X amount of dollars this month, and I need to keep as much of it as I can because I don't know how the rest of the year is going to look. As you get to a certain place and you have some consistency with the revenue that's being generated, you need to think about spending some of that money and reinvesting it in your business. The biggest mistake I ever made was not spending more money on advertising when I was a smaller firm, because it was a lot cheaper back in 2008 to 2010 to advertise than it is now. And I could have grown the client base even more had I invested more in the firm back then rather than trying to save some money for a rainy day. I also refused to hire another lawyer for 6 years because I was afraid I couldn't afford it. Turns out the minute I hired another lawyer and started paying a salary, we made more money because it freed me up to do more marketing and advertising. So just remember, don't be afraid to spend money. Don't be afraid to reinvest in your firm. This is the best thing you can do. My third tip is don't be the cheapest solution. You should not be in a race to the bottom on fees. If a client is coming to you saying that they want a cheaper solution or that they found somebody that's a couple $100 less than you, say, that's great. I'm really sorry, but we're not here to be the cheapest solution. We're here to be the best solution for the best price. And that is a great place to be in the market because you don't want to be competing just on price. Now, you obviously can't be 100 times the cheapest solution, perhaps, as far as your fees go, but you can certainly be above it, and you don't have to grovel with all the bottom feeders out there trying to just tell people, hey, come to me because I'm a low-cost solution. You will get really bad clients, really difficult people to work with if you're playing in that fee bucket, and you just want to elevate your fees. You want people to pay for the quality that they're going to get. My fourth tip is to buy life and disability insurance when you're young. This may seem like an odd one, but I can tell you that by having disability and life insurance and then starting a family, I feel so much more at peace every single day knowing that if something happens to me, they're going to be financially taken care of. When you're out there running your own law firm, or even if you're just a member of a firm that's smaller, things can happen and you're really relying on your ability to show up day in and day out to make a living. You need your labor to be there. And if it's not going to be there for some reason, you want to be able to be compensated. And that's what those types of insurance provide. The interesting thing about life and disability insurance is they're going to do everything. They're going to look at your medical history. They're going to take your blood. They're going to do all this stuff. When you're young, you're going to basically be able to pass all their tests. The minute you get into your 30s, you're going to start to have medical issues that'll cause the cost of that insurance to be much higher. Get it done while you're early. My fifth tip is to trust your gut. There have been a number of times over the last 16 years where I've had people give me advice that is contrary to what my gut is telling me to do. And I try to pride myself on taking advice of others. So a lot of times I've gone contrary to what I actually think I should do because I have a really smart person telling me something else. And the problem is every time I've had a really strong gut reaction and gone against it, it's been the wrong decision. So one thing to remember is if you're running a business and you feel really strongly about something, you've got to follow your gut. Even if people in your business or other advisors are telling you differently, most of the time your gut is right. Make sure you're following it. My next tip is you need to take advice, which is obviously contrary to the previous tip, but It is important to make sure that you're not surrounding yourself with yes people. You want people to tell you, hey, this isn't the only way to do it, or you need to think about this differently. And I do value advice people give me, and I've made changes based on that advice because I'm not always going to be right. And I recognize that. And the more you can surround yourself with people that will challenge your assumptions, challenge your beliefs, and challenge you to do better, the better your law firm is going to be. My 7th tip is you've got to mitigate risk. Look, as attorneys, we are risk mitigators. People are hiring us to try to lower their overall risk. But when you're running a firm, you have to think of the same things. For example, are you mitigating risk on the IT side? Are you taking all the security measures you need? Do you even have insurance around if there's a data breach? Do you have the right insurance for your practice from a malpractice perspective, from a business slip and fall issue if someone's hurt in your office? Really take the time, think about mitigating risk for your own business as much as you think about mitigating them for clients. My 8th tip is that it's really important to sit and take time to reflect on what's going on around you. My best time is in the shower. I just let my mind wander and I think about business. I think about everything going on and I try to come up with creative solutions to problems I might be having. If you're constantly running and just not taking time to sit back in a quiet room or a quiet space to think about problems and think about solutions, you're not going to get the best ones. So make sure you give yourself that time and space, no matter how busy life gets with kids and the firm. You really need that time. Honestly, it's where my best ideas come to me. So you really have to make sure you're giving yourself space and time to think. It can be a lot easier said than done. Make sure you're actually calendaring it if you need to. My 9th tip is to accept that nobody will care about your business the way you do. This has been the hardest thing for me personally to accept because I am so passionate about my law firm. I think about it 24/7. I work on it in my mind 24/7 or in front of the computer. No one else I ever bring into the firm will care about it that much. That is okay. It is not their firm. It is my firm. And I need people to care. If I have somebody who cares about it 80% as much as I do, that is amazing. And that person is going to be amazing for our company. So just remember that no one's going to care as much as you do. You're the one that's going to spot all the issues. Just be passionate. Tell people when you see problems. Tell people when you want to make improvements. Don't accept anything less than you want to, but just understand that no one's going to care like you do. And once you come to that realization, you can guide everybody around you in a way that makes sense and it helps elevate the firm, but it also makes you less stressed because you don't wonder why someone's not seeing the same issues you're seeing or why someone's not trying as hard as you're trying. As long as they're trying to a certain extent, as long as they care to a certain extent, that's what you can expect and that's what you need. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Josh Gerben Show. This show is brought to you by none other than Gerben IP. Gerben IP is a trademark, copyright, and patent firm based out of Washington, D.C. We've been in business for more than 16 years and work with clients from all over the United States and the world. If you are a U.S.-based attorney, please know that we do accept referrals from attorneys and pay a 20% referral fee for the lifetime of a client that you refer to us. We work really well with firms that don't do IP work, but need to plug in someone that does for their clients, especially someone that's not going to do the other work that you're already doing. So if you need somebody to refer your IP work to, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is jgerben@gerbenlawfirm.com. Drop me a note. I'll be happy to schedule an appointment with you, talk about our referral program, talk about what we can do for your clients. Thanks again so much for listening. Now back to the show. My 10th tip is to incentivize employees, especially the other attorneys in your firm. One of the things that we ran into is that we were paying a really good base salary, but we weren't really providing a large incentive to our attorneys. This led to people basically trying to work the minimum to make the salary. And I understand that. That's human nature. Once you get used to a certain level or a certain number, arguably say, I'm worth this for this amount of time and you're not going to give any extra. And that's normal in any organization. But if you have incentives built in, then if lawyers are working harder for you and they're working longer hours, but they know they're getting paid more for doing that, then everybody's happy because they're happy to put in the time knowing they're getting compensated for it. And you're happy to compensate extra for that time because the firm makes more money if they're working longer hours, right? And so I think having a base that makes sense from a financial perspective and sort of a minimum effort perspective is good. But having a large part of a lawyer's salary incentivized is also really important because then it ties your need to manage the firm and get a lot out of the people that are with you to the employees' need to make money and feel valued for all the time they're putting in. And it gets you aligned on the same page. That's what a good incentive program does, and you really should think long and hard about putting that in place at your firm. My 11th tip is to post on social media. The best thing I do to retain clients and build relationships is by posting on social media, because people get to know me more. There's only so much you can get to know in a short call with a client, but if they see my philosophy on how I practice, on how I am every day, on what I think about life, and they see that in post, they do feel more connected to me and feel a lot better about supporting me in the firm, because they know they're going to get taken care of based on who I am and how I try to be in my life and in my business. So I think being transparent and posting, while it's not always something that people think is desirable or they don't feel comfortable with it, it gives people a window into who you are. And that is really important to growing and building relationships, more so than you'll ever realize is happening, because you'll post it and you won't know who's seeing it, but more people see it than you actually think do. My 12th tip is to be kind to everybody. This is something I really had to learn. I was not good at it in my 20s and early 30s. I'd be very combative with opposing counsel. I'd be, combative with different people where things weren't going well. And as a lawyer, I think you're taught to argue, and that comes out there. And what I ended up realizing is that the nicer you are and the less combative you are, the more you can get done. And the better the relationships that come out of it. And relationships is what a lot of times leads to referrals. I've had opposing counsel end up referring me work because they enjoyed working with me so much. That is the type of relationships you want to foster in your life. By the way, it also reduces stress. So if I'm going to get on a call with someone, I don't dread it. Even if it's if it's an opposing party, opposing counsel, I'm never dreading the call, because I'm going to be as nice as I can and try to develop a relationship to get a problem solved. And when you approach life that way, a lot of the stress just melts away. And we're in a very stressful profession, and trying to get that stress level down, to me, especially as you get older, is critical. And this is one great way to do it. Just go in everything. I'm going to try to make a friend here. I don't care what the issues are. I'm first going to make a friend, then we're going to try to solve a problem. And if we can't, we can't, but we're not going to get into name calling. We're not going to get into any negative, long emails about how bad they are as a person or an attorney or any of this stuff. I mean, I see people send really nasty emails. Why? What does that accomplish? Do you think the other side is going to agree with you? No, never. So be nice. See what you can get done. It makes life so much easier. My 13th tip is that your health is your number one priority. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. This is the end of the story. You will not be able to show up and work if you're dead, right? It's that simple. So you need to eat right. You need to exercise. You need to take care of yourself. And if you're not doing those things, you just forget everything else. So prioritize those things. Make time for those things. I will tell you, every day at 11 o'clock, except for today because I'm recording this, but every day at 11 o'clock, I'm at the gym. Okay, without fail. Doesn't matter how many emails are in my inbox. Doesn't matter how many urgent messages I have. I will be at the gym. You will not be able to get me from 11 to 12:30. End of story. I take care of myself. I make sure I get to bed on time every night. These are the things that really matter over the long term, and you've got to be doing them day in and day out. You just have to. There's just no excuses. My 14th tip is a little tough, but you got to fire fast. What that means is that if you have a problem employee or you hired someone that you know is a mistake, you just need to let them go. It's bad for you and bad for the employee if you let them stay longer. It's bad for the employee because they'll never make progress at your firm. You probably won't be investing the right amount of time to train them and make them better, because you know that they're not going to be there for the long term. And you're better off just letting them get going somewhere else. It's really bad for your firm because now you have somebody you're paying, and if you think about the cost of replacement, like you could probably bring in somebody that would be 5 times better than this person at this particular position, but by not letting this person go and not hiring that new person, you're not getting better as a firm. And I've been guilty of this, and everybody's probably guilty of this at some point, which is that I know the person. I actually can. It's very hard as a small firm because these are not just people that you don't know. If you're letting somebody go, it's a very personal thing. It's very hard. But I think you're ultimately doing them a favor, and you really have to make hard decisions for your firm sometimes. The sooner you do it, the better you will be and the faster you will grow. And that is just a fact of life. It's not a pleasant one, but it is an important one. My 15th tip is you always got to be improving. I've been filing trademarks for 16 years. I've probably seen most of everything I can possibly see with trademarks, you would think, but I still learn something new every day. I'm always trying to improve our firm's process. I'm always trying to improve our firm's work product. And no matter how many times we file trademarks, no matter how many disputes we settle, there's always an improvement we could have made. I just think that by always being always trying to improve, keeps things fresh. It also makes sure that you're providing the best possible work product. And by providing the best possible work product, you're going to continue to get referrals and your firm's going to continue to grow. So always be looking for ways to improve at all aspects of everything. Nothing's ever final. Everything's always a work in progress. That's the way I look at it. My final tip is my favorite saying that my dad gave me, which is the end is nothing, the road is all. A lot of people get to a certain place in their careers thinking that that's where they wanted to go. I wanted to be a partner at a law firm and have the corner office. I wanted to start my own law firm and have my own clients. And when you reach it, you realize that's nice, but that's not all there is. You want more, or you want something different, or it wasn't what you thought it was. So even though you might have some end goals in mind, you say, oh, if I could, I remember I thought to myself, oh my God, if we get to a place where we had, 1,000 trademark filings a year and we were charging X amount for each filing, I mean, it would just be the greatest place to be. And then we got there and I was like, oh, wait, there's a lot more we can do. There's a lot better we can do. And there's always going to be something else. So you really have to enjoy every day. If you're only working to think you're going to have enjoyment or happiness when you reach a certain goal, that is going to make your life miserable. You need to set your life up so that every single day you're enjoying what you're doing. You're enjoying the process. You're enjoying the road you're on. And if you're not, then you need to make some changes. Because I guarantee you, if you get to the end and that's where you think happiness is, it's not. I hope that helps. So that's my 16 tips. I hope you enjoyed. I've been in business for 16 years. I wouldn't change a thing. It's extremely difficult. There are days that are extremely challenging, extremely stressful. But at the end of the day, there's nothing like working for yourself. There's nothing like putting in that sweat labor and building that equity and seeing a business grow under your watch. So if you're out there doing it, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm always happy to talk shop. And if you would like to be a guest on my podcast and tell me about your experiences in building a law firm, please feel free to reach out to me. You can drop me a note, josh@joshgerben.com. That's josh@joshgerben.com. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the podcast today. Just a few things before you take off. A reminder that the podcast is sponsored by Gerben IP. That is my trademark law firm. We offer trademark services to all 50 states and countries around the world. If you have a client that needs trademark help, we pay a 20% referral fee for the lifetime of a client you refer to us. So please feel free to get in touch with me. Just drop me an email, jgerben@gerbenlawfirm.com. That's jgerben@gerbenlawfirm.com. If you have a client that has a question about trademark, it's always a free consultation. We'll see if it's a good potential referral for us. And finally, please leave us a review or rating wherever you're watching or listening to the show. That helps other people find us. You just take the 2 seconds, click the 5 stars, or say, hey, Josh, that was awesome. Much, much appreciated. And I will see you next time.